Yes, good evening. My name is Wallace Gator Bradley, and I'm the host of the Bradley Report. And this show is made possible by the producer of this show, as well as the individual that has the wisdom to pick the guest for this show. None other than the chairman of United in Peace, Inc., my wife, Terry Marsh. Yay! Hey, with that done, I want to say to God be the glory. And we coming into the year of 2020. They say hindsight is 2020, and I agree, but we got foresight. That's why this show today is very important, and it's going out to a lot of the voters to understand the importance of electing the next Supreme Court justice. But with that being said, Secretary Jesse White, my friend, could you let them know who you be if they don't know who you are?
It's an honor for me to be here today. I'm Jesse White, the Secretary of State for the state of Illinois, and I run the largest Secretary of State office in the United States. And I'm proud of the fact that I've served 16 years as a lawmaker, 6 as a Cook County Court of D's, 21 years as your Secretary of State, 10 years in the military, 8 years professional baseball, 33 years as a teacher, and 59 years as coach and father of the Jesse White Tubman team, and yet I'm not 150 years of age.
And the next guest, the host with the most. He's in the house, but he's going to tell you who he be.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Nathaniel Roosevelt Howse. I'm a judge on the Illinois Appellate Court. I've been a judge now for 21 years. The last 10 years I've spent on the Appellate Court. And now I'm aspiring to go to the highest court in the state of Illinois, and that's the Illinois Supreme Court. And that's a court who has the important duty of looking out for the civil rights of every individual. And everybody in Cook County can vote for that election. And I'm asking you for your support in my quest to reach for higher goals.
You know, Justice House,
Yes.
right now with this criminal justice reform that's happening, with this country and the world saying that the only person that can put the president in check is a judge. One of the things I hear the secretary say all the time, your qualifications within his eyes, you being the brightest bulb in the place and the sharpest knife in the drawer.
Sharpest knife in the drawer and the brightest bulb in the building. That's what we have with this.
That's what we got with this guy. That's what I'm talking about. And take that word from a man that got 3 million votes in the last election, the highest vote getter in the state of Illinois.
Well, let me chime in on that.
Okay.
Thanks to you, ladies and gentlemen, I was successful in receiving more votes than anyone in the history of the state of Illinois. And I want you to know that I deeply appreciate your giving and caring spirit and your commitment to duty. We have another duty that we must respond to, and that is Justice Howse. It's imperative that we do all we can to make sure that he is installed as our Supreme Court Justice, because not only will he take on the job, but he'll take on the responsibility that goes with it. And so I'm putting my lot with this gentleman because I believe in him. He is honest as the day is long, and he is committed to making sure that justice reigns supreme.
You know, I'm glad that you brought that up, Secretary, because right now, the individual that's the interim judge on that bench, he has a lot of people confused. And what I mean by confused, they're trying to give the impression as if because we choose the right man that has the ethical fortitude and the integrity to be the judge, they try to give the impression like we splitting up the black community vote. What they need to know, and just as you can chime in on this, there's 8 individuals in the race. You follow what I'm saying? Okay, and one of the things that's key for any judge that sits on that bench, he have to have the ethical fortitude and integrity to adjudicate justice for people that come in front of him. So could you share I know you can't, certain things, well, just tell the truth about what is happening because the people need to know why it's important that they vote for you.
First of all, let me say that I'm truly grateful and honored to have the support of Secretary of State Jesse White. He is a leader, a person who's done good things for people in his entire career, sent hundreds of people to college, young boys and girls to college, and he is, in fact, the leading vote getter in the history of Illinois. The most important job of the Supreme Court, as I stated earlier, is to protect the civil rights of every individual. And I'm a person who will protect those rights. Now, to your point, I believe that I'm the best person for the job. I've established throughout my career my credentials. All the bar associates have found me either highly qualified or qualified, and I've gotten the best qualifications from most of the bar, so their highest rating from most of the bar associations. I think that my commitment and my reputation that I've established as 21 years of being a judge show that I'm the one who's the most qualified for taking that spot. You talked about the justice system, and everybody knows that in many cases we find that justice is delayed, and justice delayed is justice denied. In my term on the appellate court, I've done a lot to eliminate that delay. On the appellate court, every judge is given the same number of cases by computers. It's sent out by computer. And what we do at the end of each quarter, end of March, end of June, September, and December, they take stock on how many cases each judge has on backlog. The average caseload has been 12, 14 cases behind on backlog. For the last 4 years, I've led the entire court by having 0 cases on backlog. And I think that shows that I work hard, I get my cases done. I believe that people are entitled to get their decisions in cases without undue delay, and I've taken steps to do that. In 2017, I was honored to be the chair of the Appellate Court Executive Committee, and that's a committee formed by justices on the court who acted in an administrative capacity. And when I was chair, I noticed that there were a lot of cases where the lawyers had submitted all their paperwork and made their arguments, but we're waiting on judges to make a decision, 6 months, a year, sometimes longer. And I thought how unfair that is, because you have people who were injured in accidents, they're waiting on what's going to happen with their case, are they going to get paid? You have people in jail wondering whether or not their conviction is going to be affirmed or whether they're going to get out. And I thought that was unreasonable for people to have to wait on decisions, just waiting on judges to do their work. So I promulgated a rule which was adopted, which required that any judge who had a case that was older than 6 months to write a report to explain why it was not done and what could we do to help them. And as a consequence of that rule being passed, a number of cases in the 1st District Appellate Court, that is here in Cook County, the number of cases that old have dropped to almost nothing, 0. And so I have a commitment to justice, fair justice, and getting justice done so justice is not denied because of any delay on our part.
Right. Caller, I see you. Could you please state your name
Good
and
evening.
voice your opinion?
My name is Joseph Brown, and you could take any one of the 3 I'm about to ask you. One, I am disappointed with a lot of judges that haven't made no comment in terms of DNA that could free a lot of people because the state have cut the budget in that. And also, we don't have enough qualified public defenders defend people. And once again, I ain't heard no judges say anything about it at all. And then we still have corruption in terms of the police out here because it's the same ones that always come in front of these judges that have been doing the same thing year out and year in. Pick any one of the 3 in which you'd like to comment on. Have a good night.
You want to say something first, Judge?
Well,
I'd like to comment on
in regard to the public defenders, the state is broke. to be well, not broke, but they're having financial hardships. Each year, the chief judge of the Supreme Court does go to the legislature and ask for money with which to fund various programs, including the court system, including the public defender's office. And I understand what you're saying. It's a backlog there, but we do all we can to make sure decisions are done quickly. What were the other?
One of the things is, a lot of the time, it all starts within the circuit court before it get to the appellate court or before it get to the Supreme Court. A lot of the problems with the cases starts right there in the circuit court. That's why individuals need to be concerned about these judicial races, okay? And one of the things I want to share with you is one of the reasons that I'm supporting Howse for the Supreme Court is because I'm supporting a guy named Mike Hyman for the appellate court and a young lady named Deidre Bowman for the circuit court, so that I'm helping to educate us to the importance of the court system, okay? And if, when it come to, like the justice was saying, the budget comes from the Cook County government, after they get the monies from the legislative body, in order to put that within a budget, in order to hire more public defenders as well as prosecutors, okay? That's not the Supreme Court judge's purview, you know what I mean? So the thing is this, me, myself, I'm an ex-felon, so I see both sides. I've seen both sides. I've seen the importance of standing up before a judge and seeking his mercy and understanding, okay? Now, by the grace of God, I've made it my mission to help us understand the importance of getting good judges on that bench, and it starts with us electing them. And one of the things that's important, and I'm going to let the secretary chime in, is that it's important that we understand the importance of re-electing a good state's attorney that's going to have a fair prosecution. Because the reason you be hearing or watching on my page that I scream so much about Neville's is that an individual that has an inference of impropriety, that lawyer in that courtroom has the power to make it where that judge is not on the bench in that case. Okay? So we got to look at the judges. We can go online. We can Google the judges in the various races so you'll know who they are that's in the race. There's 8 people, including him, that's running for the Supreme Court. You know, so Secretary, you like to...
Well, I normally shy away from voting on judges that I don't know.
Right.
But I don't have a problem in voting for Judge Howse because I know him.
Right.
I know that not only will he take on the job, but he'll take on the responsibility that goes with it. And I know that he'll be at his duty station every day, discharge his duties in a manner which all of us could be proud. And so I'm going to do all that is within me to make sure that he becomes the next Supreme Court Justice for the state of Illinois. The people of this wonderful state will benefit from his
I agree.
commitment.
I agree. You know, caller, if you're still on the line, okay. How's one of the things that the people in the community have been sharing with me, especially some of the lawyers, and that is that the Supreme Court, for lack of a better phrase, they like the sheriff over individuals to make, either they make the decision if it's a bad lawyer or if it's a bad judge, they make the decision on if their license should be suspended or whatever it is with the complaints that are coming from the ARDC. Could you explain how all that go?
Well, the bureau that licenses attorneys is called the Illinois Attorney Registration and Disciplinary Commission. And that's the body of lawyers who hear complaints about lawyers, and they recommend discipline when it's appropriate. And that process starts with the filing of a complaint. And if the complaint is found to have merit, it goes before a hearing board, and the hearing board hears the case and makes a recommendation. It's either thrown out or found to have merit. Then if that's the case, it goes to a review board, which makes a recommendation as to what type of discipline should be given to the lawyer. And that recommendation would go to the Supreme Court, who has the final say on whether or not the review board's decision is sustainable or not. So ultimately, the Supreme Court has the duty not only to supervise the court system, the appellate courts and the circuit courts, they also have the final say when it comes to disciplinary matters involving attorneys who practice law in Illinois.
They also have do they also apply to judges? Do they have to go through the same thing?
Well, it's a slightly different thing. They call it the Judicial Inquiry Board, and they have a certain same thing too. When an individual has a complaint about a judge, it goes before a preliminary complaint is made, and it's heard, determine whether or not it has merit. If it has merit, it goes before another hearing, and ultimately the Supreme Court will make a decision on whether or not the recommendation, whether it be suspension or dismiss or removal from office, is justified. So the Supreme Court does hear that. So it has ultimately a great deal of responsibility in addition to just simply hearing cases.
You know, caller, I see you. Could you please state your name and voice your opinion?
It's Joe again. I want to direct my comment to the Secretary of State. Could you please comment how important it is, especially for a young person in high school, to have a valid ID, because a high school ID is not good enough, and how that can prevent certain types of problems. And I can speak from personal experience when I got my daughter a state ID, because it could avoid a lot of problems. Could you please, Mr. Secretary of State?
I couldn't quite hear all of it.
What he was talking about is the importance of the ID. Sir, could you speak a little louder so the Secretary can hear you?
If it's a problem with the ID.
Yes. Hello? Okay, he's gone. What he was talking about, high school ID is, I guess you can't use your high school ID to come in to get state ID.
State ID, yes. Yeah,
And
well,
that's what he wanted you to address.
right now we're doing several things. We're doing the real ID as of October the 1st, 2020. If you want to fly on an airplane, or if you want to go into one of the federal buildings or any number of the federal buildings, you have to have what's called the real ID. Because of 9/11, the federal government decided, this Homeland Security, said that we have to make sure that we recertify every person who is going to go into any of our buildings or want to fly on an airplane. Now, you could use your regular ID right now.
Right.
If all you want to do is just you fly in the United States. You'll always have to have your passport if by chance you want to fly internationally. And so it's important for us to make sure that our young people, and matter of fact, the citizens of Illinois, have proper identification.
You know, one of the things I think what the caller was alluding to, Secretary, also is that if the correct ID that they need to bring in order to get the state ID. He was
Yes.
talking about, they can't use the school ID?
No, they cannot. They cannot use the state ID or the passport. Those will get them from point A to point B rather
Okay.
quickly.
Okay. You know, thanks, Secretary, because I got to get my
Well,
correct ID,
as I indicated
the new
before,
ID.
if you want to fly on an airplane
Right.
as of October 1, 2020,
You
you
better
have to
have
have the real ID with a star at the top of the license.
Okay.
If I think I'd like to show this to you if I can. If I can get it, here it is. You see the star up at the top corner?
At the top corner, I hope the viewers can see it. there's a star on this new ID that you have to have by October of 2020 in order to be able to catch a plane, go into government buildings, and that. I'm going to get mine tomorrow. For real. For real, Secretary.
Well, one of the things that we've done, and that is, we have changed the work hours of our employees so that they can take care of your needs in a timely manner.
Okay.
So which means that we want to get you in and out. We don't want you to bring your duffel bag, sleeping bag, or your lunch pail. We want to get you out so you can take care of your business.
Right. Well, one of the cars I got is my AARP car. So that means I ain't got to wait in the line. Justice, we're about to close it up in a couple of minutes. Is something you want the voters to know about you, how they can contact you?
Well, absolutely. Thank you, Gator. I'm a person who is a fighter for the underdog, and I've been a fighter for the underdog my entire career. When I was a lawyer, I worked for I saw some people in need who wanted representation when they were trying to form a new party, the Harold Washington Party. So I worked with Judge Pincham. I was one of the lead attorneys, and we wound up winning that case, allowing the Harold Washington Party to be on the ballot. I took that case pro bono because there were people who came to me, they're saying that they felt they were being mistreated in a political forum. And so I took that case and represented them successfully. I also did the Justice Party case. So I kind of showed my commitment to being an underdog. And a lot of people say, well, how can you be an underdog? You've been a judge for 21 years and a lawyer for 22 years before that. How can you be an underdog? Well, I tell them I was born an underdog. I was born in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, where we had to attend segregated schools. We go to the movie theater. I asked my parents, how come we can't sit on the first floor with all those empty seats? And the Jim Crow laws didn't allow it. My mother and dad were both first-generation college graduates, first people in their family to go to college. My mother became a teacher, but my dad had a master's degree from Tennessee State, and when he got his degree and went back to Murfreesboro, our hometown, to get a job, instead of giving him a office job, they gave him a broom and a mop and told him to work night shift as a janitor. So they wanted a better job, a better life for us. So they brought us to Chicago. We became part of the Great Migration. And we got here. My mom taught school for 35 years. She was a member of the union for 35 years. My dad worked for the post office initially. Then he worked for the city. And he decided that he wanted to be a lawyer. And he worked full-time supporting the family while he went to night school, to law school. And I remember his struggle and how hard it was for him. I remember sometimes on the weekends, my brother and I would be sitting at the kitchen table doing our homework across from each other, and we could look at the dining room. We could see my dad with his law books doing his work. And when he became a lawyer in my freshman year of high school, I went to court with him. And I saw when he stood up how he got respect from the people in the courtroom that he never would have gotten in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. And I said, well, maybe that's something that I need to be looking at as a future for me. And I did follow in his footsteps and became a lawyer. And I worked with him for 22 years before becoming a judge. So, but I never lost that sensitivity. I know what it feels like to be discriminated against. I know what it feels like to be stepped on, because I remember those things in Murfreesboro and beyond, quite frankly. And I know what it means to be discriminated against. And I carry that sensitivity to me when people complain that their civil rights or their rights have been violated. And I listen to those arguments carefully because I know what it feels like. So I will take that sensitivity with me to the Supreme Court. And so on March 17, 2020, when you go out to vote and consider who you're going to vote for the Supreme Court, I ask you to remember 5 little words when you make your decision. Howse is in the house. Thank you.
Caller, I see you. You got the last minute speaker on. Hello? Caller?
Hi, this is L. Darden Jr., President of the South Suburban Region Black Chamber of Commerce.
Hey, how you doing, sir? Speak.
Well, I just wanted to make a comment, if I may.
You just want to know what?
I just wanted to make a comment.
Oh, yes, come on, make it. We want to hear it.
Yeah, representing the chamber and all of our members, I just wanted to say that we wholeheartedly support Justice House's campaign. We think that Justice Howse brings a level of ethics and sincerity to the issues that affect all people in Illinois, and we think that he would do a great job on the Illinois Supreme Court.
Thank you.
Man, thank you. Thank you. That's major.
Grateful for that.
That's the South Suburban Chamber of Commerce?
South Suburban Black Chamber of Commerce.
Man, hey, thank you. I know he thank you.
I'm
I
very
was going to say
grateful
to
for
God
that.
be the glory for the endorsement. That was a public endorsement,
Thank
man.
you. Mhm.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Because I know you guys doing a lot out there with that Chamber of Commerce. I've been blessed to be out there and see how y'all be getting net worth from networking. Hey, man, that's major. Chicago needs to have a Chamber of Commerce with that same intensity as what you and the young ladies that's a part of the chamber. Thank you. Man, that's me. Caller, I'll see you. Come on. Share your name and voice your opinion.
Good evening, gentlemen. I am Elizabeth, and I heard so many good things this evening, and I just want to encourage Justice Howse to keep the faith, don't give up. And my question is, how can he encourage young people to get more involved with the law?
Wow, okay.
Okay. I encourage young people, first of all, to know about government. Unfortunately, they don't teach civics in school anymore. When I went to school, you had to learn all about the senators and reps and how the court system worked. What we do entertain students who want to come and observe us in the courtroom. So we hear cases at 160 North LaSalle, and my division hears cases on Wednesday mornings. And if they would like to see how the appellate court process works, they're welcome to make an inquiry and come down and see us as we hear appellate arguments. Also, the Circuit Court of Cook County, they have court every day, and they welcome students if you contact the Office of Justice Timothy Evans in advance, and they will make arrangements for the students to come in and observe, and they can ask questions and learn about the court system.
Man, that's good.
Well, that is fantastic, and I just wish you the best. They need to see men like you standing up for the law and protecting their rights. So hang in there, and you can do it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's a
Amen.
pretty good endorsement.
Yeah, that was a good endorsement.
But I want to just say this, and that is, it's imperative that the people in this country, the people in this county or this city, make sure they get registered and come out and discharge their civic responsibilities, because if you don't vote, you lose your gripe rights. You cannot complain about anything in society. And we want to make sure that on election day, victory will be with you, sir.
Yes, sir.
You bring a lot to the table. I admired you for many, many years, and I appreciate your commitment to duty.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Hey,
Secretary.
man. Well, all I can say, I got 1 minute left. I want to say, as everybody know, I always say to God be the glory, because without him, we wouldn't be alive to vote, to make the right choices with everyday life. And I know, I want to say this publicly. This is a friend of mine. When he won for the appellate court, we was walking down Washington Avenue, joking. If his daddy was here, he would say, Gator and Nate, that's a wonderful thing. And he talked about running for the Supreme Court, so he's doing it. And I want to say, to me, Jesse White is a blessing to me from God. To God be the glory. Thank you.